All right, guys, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, we are live, sort of. We're kind of live. Now, as you guys know, YouTube is really weird when you want to touch guns. So we have to pre record some of this stuff. But I have what I think is one of the coolest guests I've had in a long time. This guy's a veteran of the industry, and he makes some pretty cool guns. So without further ado, let's invite Mr. Greg Mooney to the live. What's going on, Greg?
Hey, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, good night. I mean, it's nighttime
Yeah.
technically
Good.
when we're
Good
watching
day,
this.
sir.
Yeah. So, man, I have a million questions for you, and I understand you're having kind of bad weather right now, though, huh?
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. It's like I should be building the ark right now versus making guns. It started early this morning, but by 4 o'clock, winds will come up and it's going to be clear by 6 o'clock. It's crazy.
How bizarre.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where you're located.
We're in the mountains of western North Carolina, just south of Asheville, about 20 minutes. So we're right on the tip, about 20, 30 minutes from Greenville, South Carolina, kind of right in the tip of western North Carolina in the mountains. We're about 2,500 feet and a beautiful area to live.
I know it. I love Houston, Texas, but if I were to move anywhere else, I'd probably want to move towards the Carolinas or Tennessee or just anywhere where there's no people. I think the older I get, the less I want to see people, ironically enough. I think my social skills are going down the older I get. Everyone in the chat, please leave comments. And I'll be in the chat answering your comments. And so make sure you're active and you're leaving some comments. If you have questions that I can answer, I will try and answer those questions as best as my ability. But so I got to say, Cosaint Arms, you make 1911s, custom 2011s. And I just wanted to ask you, why would you want to get in this crazy business? What motivated you to start making 2011s?
So you really have to go back a little ways, and so from a period of time, I was with STI, and that's where I learned about the double stacks and the modular frame design. And when we were there, I would do demos with consumers, and people would come out of the range and just say, "Oh my gosh, this is fantastic! This is just a great gun. I love the way it shoots." And so I go home, and eventually we kind of called me, okay, let's nail down exactly why these guns shoot the way they do. And everybody around the room, from old timers to engineering, kind of shrugged their shoulders and says, we don't know. It has something to do with the grip, and it has something to do with the frame. We don't know. So it was fantastic, because then we hired a lab in Texas, and they did some testing. We built two of the exact same slides. One was a 1911 frame, one was a 2011 frame and grip, and we had them do the testing. And when they tested it, they gave us a full report that showed very clearly that the reason the gun shoots so flat is because the energy moves like a piston, boom, boom, boom. When it's a full frame and grip together, and the energy comes back, goes into the grip, and then goes back up, goes forward. And that's what you feel. You feel the rotation in your wrist when you shoot a full frame grip gun. With our, again, the 2011 design, modular, and it doesn't matter whether it's a polymer or aluminum grip, as long as they're separate, the energy when it's going back and forth, it doesn't go to the grip. It just goes back and then comes forward again. That's just what you feel as you've experienced shooting these. It's amazing, that piston-like action, and why it's all the rage. So we have some new owners came in. They wanted to go a little bit different direction. I left the company, went to the Carolinas to kind of do work for another company and kind of help build his company up. And when that project ended, I kept thinking, that would just be fantastic. And right then we started what was the Staccato C project, little small carry gun. Because if it's that controllable, then why not? Let's make a really good carry gun. At the time, STI is making these beautiful, big, mostly competition guns, and that's what we're known for.
Right.
And we thought, oh my gosh, let's go to the carry market, make a controlled, really controllable carry gun in the same modular, because it works single stack as well as double stack. It doesn't matter. And so we started that project, and the new owners came in. They went in a different direction. I come to the Carolinas, and when the one project was done, I interviewed for some jobs, but I started working on. I think I'm going to make one of these guns just to make it. And again, tell me if this gets too long, but I ended up buying a couple of. I think they were arms core. They were arms core, 3.5-inch 1911s, and I kept one exactly as is. But then the other one, I had an engineer. I mean, a gunsmith I know cut it. First, I had the grip designed, and I had a frame designed, and it was different than what STI had done. I completely did different stuff in it, and I had him cut the frame up so I could put my grip on it. Because the original concept was, oh my gosh, if you could modify 1911s by just cutting the frame, putting this grip on, all those 1911s in safes out there that are zero value to guys would go, great, I can get a double, I can get this new shooting. Well, we did that, and it was our proof of concept. I had a grip printed, it worked. I'd have people shoot both guns. They go, oh my God, what'd you do to this one? And you could tell it was different. And so there was my proof of concept. So, and then when we thought we're going to do single stacks. STI is really good at the double stack business, and I didn't know where I'd get good mags unless I went back to STI, now Staccato. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen. But I knew I could get quality single stack mags. So we went down the single stack path, thinking this is a small niche market, and give people that are single stack player that shooting experience. That's a little niche, And so we started and came out of our cave in December of 19 or beginning of 20, and then COVID hit, and it was brutal trying to survive that year because you couldn't demo a gun. Nobody would go to a group, nobody would be in a range with people. And so then we kind of get through there, and we get into the spring of 21, and Staccato now has just done a fantastic. And in the meantime, they come out with their Staccato C, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just about to come, and they bring out the Staccato C. Well, for a lot of ways, that was great because it was proving that it's viable, the concept. And but then they start migrating, and they eventually they have the Staccato, and then they change the name to the company to Staccato, and then they just start promoting with influencers and sharing the knowledge of this gun shoots fantastic. And then you have all these really big time gun guys throughout social media promoting the double stack and how it shoots and why it's a fantastic carry, so controlled, and they kind of migrated away from the competition shooting and go strictly to built for heroes. It's all about carry. And so then they created such a demand. Everybody was screaming for a double stack, and we had one we had one in development. We had a grip, and we had the frame, that we could work with. And so then we started coming out with that, and that took off like wildfire. And again, to this day, and then we tried to be niche around. Staccato makes a fantastic product. They're a really good company, and so we just felt like there's just so much demand in the category. Let's do double stacks. Aluminum frame, steel frame. We started doing 45s and 10s.
Now, how much is that stuff made in house? I mean, when you first started, was anything outsourced?
We did a lot. When we first started, we made the slides, the frames, the grip safeties, the bushings to hold it. But we had one CNC. So eventually that just got to be, we just cannot keep up. And so what we were doing is trying to pick, okay, what's the most important? So to this day, we still make all of our own frames, and then we can adjust those frames based on the slides we buy from somebody. And we buy.
And for everyone in the chat, why don't you enlighten them? How much do these CNC machines cost? New and used, a good quality used one to a brand spanking new one.
So we use a Haas. And we bought it brand new so that we wouldn't have any issues because I didn't have the money to fix anything. So we bought a brand new Haas, and that's a 100. That was 130, I think, at the time with all the things we put on it, and
Yeah.
that's not even the big expense. The big expense is then getting the programmer machinist who can then take the idea and concept and machine it properly, which we found a fantastic guy to do that. And so in the spring of 19, we got our FFL, and I started paying a gunsmith and a machinist, and bought the machine in June. And so
Wow.
I was paying for all that while we were developing it. We didn't sell our first gun until January of 20. And so it was, a lot of time developing
A lot of
the
stress.
slides, the frames, all the parts we were making, make sure they matched right, that they made a good gun. And now we buy the slides that are balled. So the internals are done, but they're balled. We can do everything to the outside. So we can put the sight cuts in, the serrations. We can cut down a commander down to a compact if we want to. It's just more versatile inventory. Because you still have sizes and you have calibers, so there's still a
Right.
big inventory of everything. And so once we did that, but now you look at it, what is 3 years later, and now everybody is brothers in it. Okay, there's just so many players in the double stack market now, which is all good. I mean,
But there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of people making 2011s, and there's some people out there, I can't name names, that say they can make a 2011 that completely failed to make a quality 2011. Again, not naming names, but if you follow the channel, you know. And when I first shot a Cosaint, I was just blown away by it. My buddy Mike bought one, then he bought two, then he ended up buying three, and I think he's on number four right now. And man, each one just gets better and better and better, and there's so much fun to shoot. That's the first gun, the Cosaint Arms, the smaller one, the commander size, right?
the commander's the 4 1/4.
Yeah, that's the first time I shot a smaller 2011 that was rock steady in my hands. Before that, I hated smaller guns, and that thing shoots like a dream. I'll put that link to those videos down below in case anybody in the chat. Thank you for being in the chat. Want to check it out, but yeah. So, can you explain your term production custom? Because that's something I've heard you say quite a bit. Production
Yeah.
custom.
So um, the reason we do that is that our gun, we make a gun one at a time. We don't do them in an assembly line approach and multiple people. And so my concept all along was that a lot of production, a lot of brands, they make the gun and you kind of take it as they've made it, and they're doing it for the lion's share of the market. The 90% of the market. That's why everybody hovers in 9mm. It's because there's not enough 45s to worry about it. Well, it's a big number for us. Because nobody else does it, and nines are still the big part of the market, but they pretty much put all that in there. That primarily what the market wants. So, for an example, when we were out showing the gun off, and we went to some USPSA shoots, IDPA shoots, in talking to the shooters, the competitors, our goal was not to be a competitive shooting gun. Our purpose there is to talk to shooters, people who shoot a lot of rounds,
Yeah.
so that we can get feedback. Okay, what would you do? What would you change? What do you like? What do you don't like? And that's why, our single stacks always had, curved triggers. But as soon as we started doing the double stacks, or talking to all these guys that are shooting double stacks in competition, they all had flat triggers. It was all a custom, all add-on, because the biggest players always just shipped it with a curved trigger. Well, I thought, okay, that's it. We got to ship every gun with a flat trigger. There was logic behind it. There's a reason for it. And so that's why production custom. The idea is you can buy a lot of guns, but so many guys have their own likes and dislikes about their guns and how they work and what they like. Extended slide mag releases, extended slide stops, ambi safety versus single sight safety. all of that is kind of personalized in what they're used to in their guns. And all I could think of was, well, if we're going to build it one at a time, why not have them tell us what to pick the parts out of we put them on a wall. All of our parts are on a peg wall. So all I do is go down the line picking out what each kit is. And also I can immediately see what we're low on and what I need to buy more of. And so that's why we call it production custom. And then so we're talking to a customer and he says, our stock is about 3.5 pound trigger pull. They go, man, I'd really like to have a sub, 3, like 2.5 to 3. Okay, then we write that on the notes. But if we're just shipping it, we want it up close to 3.5 to 4, more of a retail
Right.
trigger pull. And those that want it, no problem. We can do that. And same thing with moving to night sights versus our, fiber optic front sight. Again, personal request. We don't want somebody to spend $2,500 for $2,500 for a gun and then take it to a gunsmith as soon as they open the box. Well, I want this kind of sight and I want these kind of safeties. And now all of a sudden, it's not Cerakoted. It looks like a Frankenstein gun. And another good example is somebody says to me, and not on our spec sheet, I want Atlas paddle trigger, paddle safeties. Well, that's not a stock item. They're expensive. And so we normally put Wilson combat ambies on. But a guy who's competing or other reasons, he just likes that Atlas paddle safety, no problem. We can source it. We'll source that, charge the difference between our safety and what they want. Now, great, let's put that on there, And so same thing with the short trigger versus medium trigger, curved trigger, flat trigger. We're able to, okay, tell us what you want. If I can get it and I can put it into our process, then what I can do is give it to the gunsmith, the armorers, and when they go to make it, they don't have to change what they do. They build what's in the kit and go through their process of building a gun. That's what we call a production.
What's the turnaround time between when someone goes on your website, orders a gun, semi-custom? What's the turnaround time before they can order it, pay for it, and it gets to their FFL?
Yeah, that could vary. Again, the time of the year and what's in the shop, but I'd say 4 to 6 weeks is. We strive to do.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and we've missed it. Sometimes I can't get slides from suppliers, and so then I might be out to 8 weeks. But that's something we just have to get better at, is trying to up our inventory so that when somebody calls in, I can give a more realistic, delivery. But we definitely are in that realm. We keep about that much in process, and it spikes up when we just get more orders. Like right now, we're about to head to SHOT, so we'll definitely pick up things coming out of SHOT, and we'll spike a little bit there. But what we don't want to do is just go, yeah, we'll still put twice as many guns out in the same amount of time. No, it's the same amount of time to make a gun. So if the numbers go up, then it's going to go out, until we can catch up, do some overtime, make some adjustment, then, kind of get that thing back in.
Plus, you got to worry about QC a lot as a manufacturer, right? I mean, you're always looking to make sure it's really tight.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's funny because that's what I'll do a lot of times when I'll pick up a 2011 or a 1911 is I'll wiggle it. And if it's really wiggly and I hear it rattle around, I'm like, must be crap. And I put it down. I'm like, that must be terrible. But then again, a loose 1911 is usually one that runs flawlessly. It's such a weird concept.
Yep.
But like the title of this video says, everyone wants to talk about this bad boy that you did a number on. Wow. I have shot the shucks out of this thing since I got it back. I mean, I put 1,000 rounds through it before I sent it to you. But when I got it back, I mean, unreal. I probably put close to another 1,000 rounds through it since I got it back. It's so much fun to shoot. And when I added this flashlight to the front, I mean, with the flashlight and the porting that you did, it shoots just banana pants. That's how I describe it. It's just bananas. It's an entirely different monster of a gun.
Yeah, Cosaint makes a nice product to start with, and again, we definitely, the porting and the trigger definitely make a difference. Putting that Wilson Combat fire control, the new trigger, and that porting right off the bat, you're way ahead of the game. And I think that was a good move, doing the bigger C&H prep, so you can put a different optic
Yeah.
basically put any, you can put almost any optic on now, whereas the prep that comes from Turkey is fairly limited.
Yeah, and I really like this a lot. But you know what so here's something I've shot that you do better than everyone else, I feel, is on the Cosaint guns. Like, so a lot of new shooters, when they shoot 2011s for the first time, they'll always hit their thumb on the safety and accidentally engage it. But on the Gerson and then on a lot of your guns, I mean, you really got to put an effort to click that up. And that's something I really like about the Cosaint guns and this Gerson is you really got to push effort because I've done it. I still do it where I'll click it up. And new shooters, when they shoot a 2011 for the first time, they do that too. Now, is there a way? Say you bought a 2011 and it was loose. Is there a way to tighten that up, or you just got to switch it out to something else?
When you say loose, to slide to frame.
No, loose. The safety.
Yeah, there's a couple little things that you can do to tighten it up, but probably the best is just to fit a new one.
Right.
And but you can do a couple of things. You can add make the spring get a longer spring, make that the pin push harder against it. It's funny, Mike. This goes back to that production custom. There's some guys that want that thing. Like most people like it tactile. You like it to be able to go click, 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 click. I've had other people go, no, I want to just go on off. I don't want to hear that. And
Really?
so it's again, everybody's different.
Yeah, I don't like a loose one. I have one, again, not saying where it's from, but I have one and it's so loose. Man, every time I shoot it, I'm always hitting the stupid thing with my thumb and I'm always engaging the safety on accident. And it drives me bananas.
It's a really simple. Fitting a new thumb safety on, what you can definitely make that tighter.
Yeah. So everything you did to this one, you did the trigger, of course. And you know what? It was so funny. So Greg had this pistol and he worked on it. I got it back. I shot a bunch of rounds through it, and he goes, "How'd you like the flat top?" And then I looked and I was like, "Holy smokes!" He actually shaved off the top, and I had no idea. I didn't even notice that until he had mentioned it. And now that I notice it, it looks bananas. Now, why do you do that? Is that for a certain reason or
It's
just
just
aesthetics?
Yeah, it's just that your sight picture. The round top can kind of your eye catches that, and with that flat top, that just again the sight picture. It's just that flat surface. Your eye goes right down, hits that front sight, and our guns do it. A lot of the double stacks do it, and there's custom guys and a couple of our custom guns that we've done. We actually put ribs in there that go all the way down. It's to stop reflection, stop anything to hinder the sight
Yeah.
picture.
So the only thing I noticed too is since I put the real big sight on it, and this sight actually sits. This is a Tacticon armament sight, and it's kind of like an SRO ish. It sits really far forward,
Right.
and some rounds when they come out will nick this edge when you go with the bigger sight.
Yeah. So,
And I don't really
so
mind it.
the CNH has a solution for that, and it's the no rear sight plate. And what happens is they move the optic back to where the front of the optic sits right on the edge of the port.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
So you lose the rear sight, but the optic doesn't sit over the ejection port. They had that problem with the SROs.
Yeah, I heard that sometimes. It's never happened to me, but I heard sometimes a round will actually get stuck in some of these guns between the SRO lip and the ejection port. I've never seen it,
Oh
but I've
wow,
heard it
yeah,
happening to some people. But
yeah. Our shooter guy that works with us pretty extensively out in New Mexico, he he's got a bunch of our guns he uses for competition, and other things, and he found that we got him an SRO to put on the gun, and he loved the optic, but he said, I can't stand this. So he actually called CNH, and they said, well, we do have a solution. It's the no rear sight, and for him, he didn't care because if he was going optic, he didn't
right.
need anything to co-witness. He's either going optic or he's going home.
So what's next? You said you're working on some guns for SHOT Show. What are you working on? You got anything you can show us? Any cool sneak peeks?
So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing, and we're trying to migrate the product line a little bit to have kind of a core, or what we're calling duty, and then into our custom, which is what we do today. You pull out the spec sheet and you spec out a gun from soup to nuts. And we're making a couple of Gerson variants that we're going to take theirs and tweak them up a little bit and have some fun stuff there. But the big thing is to stick with where we're going, because the porting has been really big for us this year, and I mean, we're getting better and better. The good thing was that our compact our compact is just the
That
dominant
looks
player
so
for us
sweet.
right now. And and the big thing is that it's 3.5. It sits. It was out a year before the CS came out, and people start to research that and see the reviews, and we've had some really good reviews, comparative reviews between the CS, the C2, and our compact. Our compact's 3.5 inches, and you add that. This one's got a V port, and I mean, you add that V port, 17 rounds in the mag, and it takes standard 2011 mags. So if you take 420s with you, you can load those up and shoot at the range, 20 rounds per mag, and then you dump it and put your carry 17 rounder in, flush fit, so that it
Oh, that is
flush
so cool.
fit, and yeah, so we've gotten a lot of good attention because of that, and again, it's just a 3.5 inch with that porting, either chunk or the V port. That's been a real big one for us, and we're going to do a couple variants of that. We're going to do some with GI serrations and a couple of tweaks on just a little bit different look, just to have them. And we've done some very cool semi collectibles for one customer. He asked for some guns that we'll build in limited numbers, and so we built this one. I
Oh
think
yeah.
you've seen it before. Um, it's a 5-inch aluminum, Cerakoted in Riptile, matte Sheely grip. It's got to have 3 mags, and each mag has a different base plate, so they're color coded. Got a cart barrel, the Sheely trigger, Sheely magwell, cone barrel. Um, this thing is just a beautiful gun. It's kind of the ultimate carry. Aluminum frame and grip. So it comes in at like 34 ounces is a big gun.
So
So
really quick, everyone in the chat, thank you guys for hanging out. This is a live, kind of not live. Really appreciate it. If you have questions, I'll be in the chat. Please type out your questions. I'll try and answer whatever you got. But I have another question for you. If you have a customer that comes at you at a right field and says, you know what, I want a 7-inch slide, 10 millimeter, just bananas, just all over the place. Is that something you can do? What if someone has like, I want a 6-inch gun, or just a real custom one off, and they're willing to wait and pay for it? Is that something you can do?
we have and we haven't. We've had some 7-inch guys that I just can't do right now. We've made a couple of 6-inch recently. We're making a couple for SHOT Show, just to show that we can do it. Um, I had a couple of frames that we did this year. We did a slide to frame fit, and guys wanted to do their own project, and we did some real crazy serrations. They want to make open guns. I don't think we have the wherewithal to make a really good open gun yet. We built a couple of comp guns, but an open gun is a different animal, and I would love to migrate towards that. But I was glad to work with him, even though there's no way there's compensation for what we put into it. But it was a learning for our gunsmith, for our
Right.
machinists, and the big thing for this year, last year was about the porting, because there was so much talk about guns out there that had a comp on them, that are expensive. They're over $4,000 and they shoot fantastic, beautiful gun. But I had customers who said, just if you have anything that could give an option to that. Well, that's what our porting did. Our porting gave you, within the confines of an existing gun, 3.5, 4.25, 5-inch, you can put those V ports and chunk port, and that thing responds very similarly to the ones with the big comp on the end, with what is an island barrel. yeah, you don't have the fixed sight not moving as the slide's moving frantically back and forth. But again, you're talking about $2,800 to 3,000 versus 42 to
or more.
44, and so, or more. And, especially with the, what is it, the Sand Viper and the, a lot of these guns that are coming out right now, they are all knocking on the door of 4 to 6 grand,
Yeah.
or more. And those are beautiful guns. You are getting, those are beautiful guns, and they're fantastic to shoot. What we're trying to do is is offer something that somebody's not that intense, that they would love to have that experience, and potentially once they shoot, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to move to the next level. That's kind of why we do the Cosaint. Is the idea would be is that there's a lot of people who aren't going to spend $2,000 for a double stack. They're never going to spend that, but they'll spend $1,000 and then slowly bolt on, kind of like, remember the Gucci Glock days. Guys started with a $500 Glock. When they were done with it, it got $1,500 in it, but they did it $200 or $300 at a time. One paycheck
Right.
or one quarter. As they had the money, they would upgrade their gun. And that's different than trying to come up with $2,000 for a new gun, and
Or more. I think about it. So when I look at this pistol as is, I mean, it's custom. It's exactly what I wanted. The color, everything. If you went to some of these huge companies and tried to get this is $4,000 all day.
it's
To get it Cerakoted, done all how I want. But I mean, you figure it's $1,000 for the 2311, and it's give or take $1,100 to $1,200 depending on what you want to do to
right.
this. I mean, you're still under $2,400 after taxes and everything, and you have a completely custom gun exactly how you want it.
And
It's a no-brainer.
and you've shot the premium guns. You've shot that gun to the premium guns. There is, that's a great gun. But you pick up an Atlas or an Infinity or even in some cases Staccato, and you rack that thing. One of ours, it's a little bit different. How they feel, how it racks, just the tightness. There's just a few things that are different about it, and that again, there's the market is huge, and that's kind of why we, I think that doing these things with Cosaint, if we can get people excited, I'll quickly tell you, these are the numbers I've always played with. There's an AFMR report that ATF, we all have to submit our numbers for what we do in the way of units per year. It's called the AFMR report. It comes out every 2 years, so you can only see what happened 2 years ago.
And you can see what everyone else is doing?
Totally. Okay. So,
really?
Yes. In units by caliber. Okay. And so you can watch, and I always use Kimber as the 1911 guide. So at Kimber, you've got, in the day, they did 200,000 1911s a year. And then you had Smith & Wesson, and you had, Ruger. You had all these people that did double stacks. Did single stack 1911s. We always would count it to be, let's say there's 400,000 1911s, and that doesn't include the imports. Those are just what's made built in the United States.
Wow.
And then in the double stack market, you really had Staccato, STI, which was 7,000, 10,000. The last time I saw the report, there were 25,000, units per year. I know we're probably way over that now, but they dwarfed. 1911s versus 2011s. They're completely. It was only like 10% of the market were double stacks. What we're going to see over the next couple of years is that whole thing's going to invert. It's going to change, and 2011s are going to become that volume player, and 1911s are going to become the niche. There's still going to be premium, Wilsons and
Colt. I love a nice Colt.
Colts and Les Bear. There's still going to be guys that want that quality 1911 in different calibers, different sizes. But it's just that the volume players are going to migrate to the double stacks, and again, we're never going to make that $1,000 gun. We're not a volume player. We're there to kind of serve the niches as people grow and they mature and they want something a little different. Then we're there to help them get to that, and we like being that little niche shop We're not trying to be a staccato. We don't.
Yeah.
Somebody asks who our competition is. It's not staccato. It's anybody with $2,500 that wants to invest in a gun. You
All
know,
right.
and
And let me ask you a
and
question. Now, shot shows in a couple weeks, and I know we're gonna walk around, and you're gonna. Well, you're not walking around. You're stuck at a booth trying to sell your product. I get to walk around,
yeah,
but I'm gonna see 1,000 different 1911s, and 95% of them are not gonna have an optics cut. Why are manufacturers still making 1911s with no freaking way to put an optic on it? I mean, it's 2024 now. Everyone I know fought it. I mean, I fought the red dot revolution for a while, but now it's so accepted. Why do manufacturers still make 1911s with no optics? I mean, not even an option for it. I don't get it.
I, Mike, I would tell you that a year ago we came, 14 months ago we came out with a cover. We did optic prep. We did all the different cuts and all the different preps people wanted. And before, we were doing a lot of 507Ks. And then all of a sudden, it's like, we got so much variety. No. So we started doing research. We had a bunch of law enforcement military say, you got to look into CNH. So we did some research on CNH and the other players out there. And in the end, decided this is what we got to do. This is a very good cut. It's the cross cut, very secure. They make the thinnest plate out there. They got the patented T-nuts. They've got a system that allows you to, next month, when you get a new optic after SHOT Show, somebody came out with an optic while you're there and you go, holy criminy, I got to have that. But it's a Delta Point Pro footprint. All you do is get the plate and you got the Delta Point Pro on that gun in about 15 minutes or less, versus the single cut, the single prep. And everybody's got them. Everybody's got a unique and different, cut. And what we did is just try and be to where it's easier for the customer. Long term, they can swap out. Now we make an adjustable sight cover plate. So it's got a Bomar adjustable sight on the cover plate.
Oh, nice.
So if somebody wants an adjustable sight, we can put that cover plate on. They're still optic ready. But in theory, they could also run it competition-wise, iron sights or optic, So to answer your question, I can't answer for other manufacturers, but normally they're a big enough player. They don't want to gamble the fact that the whole market's shifting so quickly, so fast. And
Yeah, I don't get it.
I'll throw some out to you, Mike, too. That years ago I was fortunate enough to work for Les Diasis and the Diasis family at Benchmade. And one of the coolest things that he taught me when I was there, and he invested in equipment, in laser decks, machine CNCs, all kinds of capabilities. We would go to SHOT Show, and eventually what we were doing is introducing a few products at SHOT Show. By the time Blade Show came around, whatever was the hottest thing at the SHOT Show, if it wasn't one of our knives, it was a design, a category, something out there. We had something in our design capabilities that was something close. We had it by Blade Show 4 months later, where normally people didn't even ship their SHOT Show stuff until March or April. We were shipping our SHOT Show product in February and then introducing new product shipping in June and July. And that was because we constantly, he's on it about stay with the market. That's our niche. And we're not going to, and in 2 years, we may discontinue this product and bring something else out because it's better and the market's going to eat this up. There's a lot of thinking out there that is, no, we've invested too much time and money and tooling and processes. No, we're not changing this. We're going to let it die in ugly grass.
So I recently had a company out here called Armed Concepts. They're a big Cerakoter, but they do a lot of custom, stuff. So I sent a SIG TAC Ops 1911 and a Rock Island Armory. I don't know, that big chunky 45 double stack that they have. I sent it to them and I just said, go nuts with it. And they sent it out. They had an optic put on it. And they took two guns I never shoot anymore because they don't have optics and they're boring. They put a new Cerakote job. I mean, they milled it for red dots and they brought them into the 2024. Yeah. And they're so busy. They said they get 1911s constantly for optics cuts and all that because no one ever shoots them. I never shoot those guns anymore. They sit in my safe now. Like my wife's Colt
Yeah.
1911. It's a beautiful gun, but never shoot it.
Yeah.
It's just I like optics
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Plus, I'm old. I'm getting older. I can't see for shucks.
Yeah.
So having a red dot really helps me still hit the dang target.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just don't understand. You got these companies. You mentioned Kimber, and all these companies are like, just give me a option for an optic. It's just weird.
Yeah. And also a lot of it too, Mike. I mean, people buy it and they don't see it in the case, so they buy it and they go, "Oh, I'll just have, I know somebody will do this work, and I'll just have it done." So tough. The hard thing for Kimber is that they don't get told that. They just sell the units, and then and I'm pit. That's not fair to pick on Kimber. I mean, they're the big dog, so that's why they get called out. But there's still a ton of people. You go into places that sell a lot of those guns. They're still selling a lot of those guns. So the only
Yeah.
noise that will tell them to change is when they don't sell the guns, and they're told because you don't have optic cuts. Oh, okay, then we're going to start doing optic cuts.
Yeah. It cost me 175 to mill each of those for optics, but they did an amazing job. And then you got to get it receracoated and all that stuff. It just, it's another $500 per gun you add on to just get an optics cut put in. But
See,
it's a shame.
and that's one of those reasons that I love people being able to call us, tell us what they want, is because then it's not that extra money. Because in actuality, if we're doing it right when we're building the gun, that's a good
Right.
point. If a guy wants those paddle safeties, well, those are $75 more or $100 more than the ones we buy. Well, then I charge him $100. I get them, I put them in, they get Cerakoted. But if he bought the gun, then he's got to go buy them at $150 from Atlas. He's got to have them Cerakoted. Well, that's a minimum of $50 because it's a setup for one part. And then they got to have a gunsmith fit them. That's another $50. All of a sudden, $100 charge from us to get it included becomes $300 or $400 to just put $300 to put a new thumb safety on.
Right.
It just goes up exponentially if you have to do it aftermarket, unless you want to do the work.
Yeah. And everyone in the chat will probably be able to relate to this too. Um, Remember, 10 years ago, everyone would just buy a plain Jane AR-15, and then they would change the stock, change the rail, change the grip, add this sight, add this flip up sight. So you buy $1,000 AR-15, very plain, and you spend another $1,500 on it, and it's like, shit, I just wasted all this money. Then you're left at home with all these crappy basic parts, and actually,
You'll never use.
I just
You'll
threw
never use.
out like 4 or 5 grips and a bunch of basic stocks. I just chucked them in the trash because I can't. My office looks like an Amazon return center. I got boxes for days all over here. It looks terrible. My wife really hates my office. So
Yeah.
when you first started your business, was there any hurdles that you wish you had known about? Like, oh crap! Besides COVID, because I'm sure that's something no one could see. Was there anything that you'd wish you'd known then that you know now? Like 2, 3 years
So
later.
it's a great question, and I've been fortunate enough in my career to kind of come up through the ranks. I started in sales, then I moved into some marketing, then sales and marketing management, and then all marketing management, and then more sales and marketing management, then into operations, which then had to do, and in sales and marketing, I was doing product management, and then I move on to operations, and then starting to deal with engineering and production, and then into general management, and then you pick up HR and more financials. And it's one thing to run a company or be in general management. It's another to do everything from scratch, from zero.
Man,
And just because I held those roles did not mean I was equipped and capable of doing all of that.
not at once.
And not at once. And it's definitely, we did it because at the ripe age of 60 years old, we created this. and never would have. I did it because I never thought I'd really retire. I always thought I would work, do something. I just couldn't see myself. And it is everything somebody who started a business says it is. Um, it's just a ton of work, and it's like it's like I'm going to swim to Hawaii. Well, until you get the halfway point, you can go back. But we're way past the halfway point. We got to get to Hawaii. We got to get all the way. And so that was number one. Number two, I absolutely enjoy working with the customers on their gun and tweaking it and getting them what they have wanted. Oh my gosh, nobody does this. Will you add this? Would you do that? I love being able to ship them the gun that they were able to do, but it's $2,500. It's not $4,000, and that hopefully that will never change. Hopefully, I'll still keep doing it, being able to do that, and I get help to do all the other stuff that I do, day in and day out. But it's a great question that I also totally misjudged the resources needed to do it. We did this all on our own. We didn't get outside investors or I figured I'm not going to use other people's money. It's got to work. It's got to be ours, and we sink or swim with ours. And
Man, that takes a lot of cojones to do that. Just saying.
Yeah, and it all belongs. They all belong to my wife. Swear to God, when I said, "Is it okay if we do this?" She said, "If you think we can do it, let's do it." I mean, that was as fast as she said it. You think you can do it? Let's do it. So she's the one.
That's key right there. When people ask me about YouTube, I have a lot of people that start channels. They're like, "Hey, I want to start a 2A channel. What do I need to do?" And I said, "Okay, get a pen and paper, write this down. Are you ready?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm ready." I'm like, "Just quit. Don't even start. You're not going to
Yeah,
make a lot of money. Just don't even start, because you got to learn production. You got to learn storytelling, storyboarding, camera work. You got to invest in a lot of studio equipment. I mean, it's not something you can just do overnight. So unless they're really going to dedicate it and swim all the way to Hawaii, it's not happening.
yep,
It's, I mean, I'll get maybe to Catalina, you know, I'm not
yeah,
getting to
yeah,
Hawaii. That's that's an island off the coast of California, by the way. It's only
yeah.
26 miles, not 1,000 miles.
Right.
But yeah, I just like don't even start. It's really hard. It's hard, but it's a lot of fun. I love it. But you won't get rich doing it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you do a good job.
Eh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right, guys. So if you have everyone in the chat, if you guys have questions, comments, or you just want to get maybe a gun specced out or just ask a couple questions, you can go on to the Cosaint Arms website, and it's info@cosaintarms.com. They can email you. So it's info@cosaintarms.com. Just go ahead and email him any questions you have, and he'd be more than happy to help you out. Oh, there you are. We thought we lost you
yeah.
for a minute.
My flood warning just came on my phone. The Amber Alert.
Well, that's a
Big
good
huge.
question. So if you have some flood guns, do we get a discount if they get flooded? If their shop just gets decimated? I mean, yeah, it's sad your shop gets decimated, but if you get flooded out, do we get a discount on those guns?
Yeah, yeah. But we're on a hill. We're on a hill, so the
Darn.
river
No,
would
I'm
run
kidding.
past
I'm
us.
kidding.
Yeah,
So are you excited for SHOT Show?
I am. We're gonna. We don't have a booth. EAA has allowed us to come and kind of help promote what was built with the 2311, and we're going to again take some examples of the things in all the boxes that are coming in from Turkey now. There's a card that says for customization called Cosaint Arms.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
Wow. I
yeah.
had two
So it was,
people in my comments on that video I just did on this gun saying that they emailed you and they're sending off their guns next week.
yeah, I do have two of them. The two that are the biggest ones people are asking about are, the porting and the trigger job.
It's so
And they
great.
said, there's a great example. And most of them said, no, I can do the Cerakote later. I can do the grip later. But for now, I really want the porting and which are the two biggest impacts on the gun.
It's
And
huge. But I got to tell you, after hanging out with some really good Cerakoters and not some not so good Cerakoters from Arizona, just saying, uh, yeah, I have seen some amazing Cerakote jobs, and this one's up there. This one's up there. I mean, there's nothing on this, and everybody in the chat knows I am picky as shit. If there's something wrong, I will nitpick it. And this one, when you look at it, this is about as clean as a Cerakote job as you can get. Now, you do this yourself?
oh yeah, we're a certified Cerakote applicator. Our gunsmith spent 2 years doing nothing but Cerakoting. He was a gunsmith for a couple of years. Then he was hired by a company to be their gunsmith for a Cerakote operation. They ended up having him Cerakote the whole time. So when our job came up, he said, I went to school to be a gunsmith. I want to be a gunsmith, not a Cerakoter.
Right.
So that was kind of our trade-off. I'll teach him about our platform, which he didn't know a lot about the 1911. He knew some, but I taught him about our platform, and he goes, and I will be a badass Cerakoter for you. So he's the one that's brought the multicams and this Riptile and Distressed. I mean, he's done some amazing stencil work. He's got one that he did for a guy that's a faint flag in behind and says "We the People" on the side of it. And yeah, so he's really good, very talented young man.
Outstanding. So if they want to find you at SHOT Show, you're going to be in the EAA booth. Those are some great guys. I love Chase and all those guys over there. They're as solid as they come.
Yeah, we also get to be out at range day with them. They let us hang out at range day and take a couple of guns, and they've got a couple of new products that are coming out that I'm not sure they want me to talk about them, but the definitely come by their booth because they've got one in particular that is unbelievable in what it'll do, and we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to showing off the variants that we're going to have of what we can do for them, and hopefully it's a stair step. You got a stock Cosaint. We can do some things to it to make it a badass Cosaint about 1,500, and then the next level at 2,000. And then you start to move into the kind of things we do to guns, which is 2,500 to 3,000.
Right. Well, they got that 10 millimeter Hunter coming out in 6-inch.
Yep.
I got to tell you,
it's going to be awesome.
That is a prime gun for some Cosaint loving because that thing looks sweet. But man, some nice porting. I don't know, a really cool Cerakote job. I mean, I think that Hunter is going to be another huge success. If they'd ever get those magazines made, Chase, let's go, buddy. Come on, man. It's 2024.
He just got I just got shipped a couple of 10s to try out.
Oh.
10 millimeter.
Yeah. Well, I'm just the B squad. I'm just the small. I'm C squad. Well, so
I'm just testing it. They just said for me to put them into a gun and shoot them a little bit, see what I think of them. So I don't think that they've gotten the stock of them, but the fact they had enough to send me a couple to test, then I mean, we're very close. Might even be by SHOT Show, but yeah,
that would be really good news.
I've got 2 governments that they sent 9 millimeter, and between Yumi and the fence post, we're going to do. Well, I think we're going to try top one.
Front door open.
I think we're going to try top one. It's going to be awesome.
That looks so cool too. Yeah, although this flat top, I got to tell you, it's such a subtle improvement on the gun. I mean, I didn't even notice, folks. How lame is that? Until you notice it. But now that I know, it's something I constantly look at. That's like if you have a scratch on your truck, you don't notice it until someone points it out. Then every time you walk out to your truck, you're like, God damn, I hate that scratch. God damn it. Why'd you have to tell me about that?
Yeah.
But hey, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone in the chat, remember, if you need any questions or you have questions, just go ahead and email info@cosaintarms.com. Greg, thanks so much for your time today. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, my friend.
Thanks so much. And any last words of wisdom you want to give to the people?
Just help us spread the word. Tell people about what we do, and especially somebody in the market for these. We're not the big dog, but we need help to have people tell our story. So
outstanding. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next live.